G'day there guys, if you want to live a happy life, tie it to a goal, not to people or objects. Welcome back to another episode of r/Am I the A-hole? It's your host Markee. If you like today's content, please just do sit back, relax, smash that like button, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and enjoy the bloody good episode. Thank you. Posted by user, no longer a doormat. Titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my stepdaughter to go ask her real dad when she asked me to pay for her plane tickets? So I married my wife, Elise, 12 years ago. She has a 16-year-old daughter, Anna, from her previous relationship, and we have a 7-year-old son as well. From pretty much the beginning of our relationship, Anna and I have never gotten along. I don't know how to emphasize that it is not because of a lack of trying. She just does not like me. When she was younger, she was just scared of me and afraid I'd tear their family apart. Nowadays, it's more of a neutral dislike rather than a strong apathy, so I suppose that's progress. Elise is a stay-at-home mother, so she relies on me for income. As a result, I pay for everything for Anna. Food, clothes, volleyball fees, field trips. I take an interest in her hobbies, I go to her games. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I try my damn hardest to be the stepfather I can. But it's so hard. Always giving me curt, one-word responses. Always having to have an attitude. She does things to get a rise out of me. Staying out late, reeking of booze. Always trying to sneak boys in. Typical rebellious stuff. But I always let her know I love her and I'm there for her in hopes of her craphead teenager phase pasts. The opposite is true for her biological father. She adores him. Can't tell you why. He never goes to her games, always makes excuses for why he doesn't want to see her. He forgot her birthday last month, and she cried herself to sleep. Well, anyways, Friday, I came to her room to check her phone and read her messages. Not a permanent thing, but she's been caught sneaking out twice in the last month, so this is her punishment. I ask for the phone. She says no. I'm tired of you checking my crap, leave me alone. I tell her I'm not asking again, and she goes, just F off already. You're not my real dad. You never have been. Stop acting like you can tell me what to do. Before getting up and slamming the door. Like I said, guys, I'm tired. Tired of the blatant disrespect, of being the verbal punching bag while still providing more for her than anyone else in her family. We haven't really talked since until this morning during breakfast. She asked if I could pay for her plane tickets so she could see her boyfriend cross state. Like I said, her mum doesn't work and her dad is a piece of crap, so I normally would be the one to cough up the money. Not this time. I responded, go ask your real dad. I could tell she was hurt. Tears swelled up from her face, and she excused herself from the table. My wife took me aside later and said my comment was extremely disrespectful. If anything's disrespectful, it's her treating me like a doormat and a credit card, and I will no longer tolerate this treatment in my house. I told her we don't have to be friends, but if she can't at least be cordial to me, or respect my position as an authority figure, she can find someone else to pay for her non-essentials. Am I the a-hole? And to add more context, my wife is a saint. She does stick up for me when Anna says something rude or snarky. She just said stooping to her level was inappropriate. But she's a wonderful mom and tries her best. I understand I've read this one before, but there's an update now, so I have to cover the initial post. In this situation, I don't think that OP is the a-hole for their actions here. This is one way to get the daughter on your side, and one way to force an ultimatum for change. Hey, I'm not going to continue to enable this disrespect in my family. I am not going to continue to enable you financially. Please change for the better, and then I will support you financially. But I will not enable this disrespect, and you're going to face the consequences for your actions if you do not change. I think that's reasonable, and I'm on the side of OP, not the a-hole. Update. Hey guys, it's been a good 2 weeks since I've posted, and I figured you guys would like an update. A lot has happened since the last time I posted. So that night, I did what many of the comments suggested I do, which was to apologize. I told her that I'm sorry for implying that I'm not her real father, but like it or not, that I consider her my daughter, that I loved her and will always be there for her. She started to cry and sob uncontrollably and said, "Why doesn't he, her biological father, love me?" I held her and told her she didn't need to fight for his approval. I also apologized for looking through her phone, that I've come to accept that it's not an appropriate punishment for a teenage girl, and I was going to find other alternatives. Lastly, I brought up therapy, and while she was hesitant at first, I let her know it was nothing to be ashamed of, that everything she said at therapy would be entirely confidential, and that it could help to have a confidant to help her sort through her feelings. She sat on this for the day, but the next day let me know that she was ready, so I set up the soonest appointment, which was last Friday, and her second appointment was this afternoon. It's only been a week, so I don't want to get too optimistic, but honestly, I feel like I'm noticing an improvement already. She's actually been engaging back in small talk, when normally she wouldn't give me the time of day. She's been following all of the rules, coming home at a reasonable hour. She's been less withdrawn and more social, even to the point where her brother commented on the change today. But the most exciting news of them all is when getting out of the car on her way home from therapy, she said, and I quote, "Thanks, Dad." She's never called me Dad before, so honestly, I've been riding off that high for the last 2 hours. I'm not delusional enough to think everything's peachy, but honestly, the behavioral change in the last week was the most progress we've had ever since, well, ever. I'm cautiously optimistic going forward. Thanks again everyone for your comments, especially the ones who gave me the kick in the ass that I needed. This post was a pure serotonin boost. I'm so happy for you, OP. Smiley face. One thing that occurred to me is it might be good to find a way to let her know how meaningful those small changes have been to you. Just in the spirit of positive reinforcement being the most powerful agent of long-term behavior change. Having been a teenage girl myself, I do not recommend anything big or face-to-face. When my parents made a big deal out of small stuff I did right, it embarrassed me, which made me want to do the right stuff less. But sometimes my mom would leave a little note in my room, letting me know how happy something I'd been doing lately had made her, and how much she loved me, how proud she was of me, etc. And that always really impacted me. I feel like if your stepdaughter knew how meaningful it was to you to have those small talk moments, and to hear her call you Dad, it would start to reinforce the reality that you do really love her, and she really does have a dad, even if it's not the one she originally thought. Just food for thought, though. You're clearly already on a great path. Thank you for your comment. I'll bounce the idea with my wife and see what we come up. God bless. Notes let her have something concrete that doesn't go away. Yes, you felt she was your daughter that day, but what about the next day? Teens dealing with abandonment issues really think that way. She can read the notes at her low moments, and I promise you she will keep them. It also lets her take in that love without feeling she needs to reply or temper her reaction. You can tell she trusts you, by the way, since she was willing to sob when you had your heart-to-heart. I'm 37 with an a-hole father, and to this day, I tend to tear up when someone shows me genuine love. Posted by user Sweaty Genitals, titled, "Am I the a-hole for telling my coworker to F off for showing me Waluigi porn?" So I struck up a friendship with a coworker of mine, because he seemed socially awkward and never went out of his way to make friends. We ended up finding out we had a mutual interest in Reddit, so he followed me. I like to crap post when I'm bored, and one day when I was bored, I decided to crap post on an unpopular opinion sub that Waluigi is sexy as hell. There was no point to it. I didn't structure it, or want to see how some people on Reddit would react to a really weird post for some cheap laughs. Why I did it? Crap, I don't know. The next day he said it was hilarious and we had a good laugh about it. I got back to work, thinking that was the end of it. It was not. He started making sexual comments about Waluigi at the weirdest times possible, like when customers were nearby, managers were nearby, or I was just trying to focus on doing my job. One time I ran into him while stocking shelves and asked how he was doing, and he said good, but I'd be better if Waluigi were railing my a-hole right now, while a customer was standing 10 feet away. The customer heard it, but thankfully just made a weird face and left. I quietly told him not to say things like that when customers were around, but he laughed and walked away. Sometimes at random moments, he'd come up behind me and moan, "Wah!" into my ear, catching me off guard. Every time I'd tell him to cool it, he would say nothing, laugh, and get back to work. What started off as a light-hearted crap post was beginning to escalate into full-blown Waluigi erotica. One day, he came up to me and said, "I have something I think you'd like," and lifted up his uniform to show a Waluigi shirt he had on underneath while licking his lips and looking at me dead in the eyes. I told him he was taking this way too far. I don't actually think Waluigi is sexy and he needs to stop. He said, "It's okay to be in denial," laughed and walked away. 4 days after that incident, he handed me a folded sheet of paper while I was helping a customer and said, "This is really important," and walked away. I finished helping the customer and then opened the paper. It was a drawing he made of Waluigi getting doggy-styled by Bowser, who for some reason had a dick bigger than his entire body. This wasn't some messy sketch he scribbled in a minute or two. He put effort into this. I told him to F off and stop being so creepy. He stormed off, and a few minutes later, his sister, who also works at the grocery store, came up to me and cussed me out, claiming I was a horrible person. I explained to her the entire situation, and she said that he has special needs. I said having special needs isn't an excuse to be creepy, and I politely told him multiple times that what he was doing wasn't appropriate. She called me an ableist and then stormed off. Am I the a-hole? Oh my god. Oh my god, they put the actual image into this post. I'm not gonna show you guys that. That is not right for YouTube. But if you want to track the post down, you're all good to go look for it. I'm gonna go not the a-hole for this one. I don't think there's any universe, any realm of existence where you could be the a-hole for cussing him out, because you didn't know that he was disabled. All you knew was that he was harassing you and sending sexual content your way, especially around managers and other people. Abled or disabled, he knew what he was doing. He's the bad guy in this situation. Not you, OP. Not the a-hole. Update. So I got an overwhelming majority of people telling me I was not the a-hole for this. But a few people pointed out that if my coworker was special needs, he likely had trouble understanding when enough was enough. Because of this, I should have communicated my boundaries more gently. After a while, I realized I shouldn't have told him to F off, but instead should have brought it to HR's attention and let them deal with it. I ended up doing that, but unfortunately, after I had already cussed him out. So here's how that went. HR let him off with a firm warning. His sister was chastised for enabling his behavior, and she's expected to hold him accountable for things like this in the future. I still felt really bad for how I reacted, and I missed having him as a friend, so I shot him a text apologizing for overreacting. He forgave me and apologized for acting so weird, saying he would respect my boundaries in the future. I offered to take him out for lunch at a great pizza joint by our job, and he accepted. We bonded over some good pizza and laughed about the whole situation, all while cracking Waluigi jokes at an appropriate time. We are back to being good buddies at work, and all is well. All in all, I'd say this was a great ending to a very weird situation. Wholesome ending, 10 out of 10, Both of y'all learnt something from this situation, and I guess he truly did understand where he messed up and why. Sending a sexy wah your way. Seductive wah ensues. If this is true, then that's a crappy HR department. Why would his sister be responsible for managing his behavior? She's not responsible for managing his behavior. She's just expected to not defend him whenever he acts unprofessionally and to call him out instead. I agree that she shouldn't be defending sexual harassment, but she shouldn't be expected to call him out unless her coworkers are also required to call him out. Yeah, you're right. Oh well, what's done is done. I don't think this will be a problem in the future though. Posted by user MatsyGD. Titled, Am I the A-hole? Roommate got a dog. Disclosure, I love dogs and my roommates. Sorry it's so long. So I live with 3 other people, and we're all full-time students. One of my roommates is my best friend, and recently she's been struggling with her mental health. She's also under a lot of financial stress due to college, rent, sports, and other things. A few weeks ago, she let us know that because she's been struggling with her mental health lately, she was going to get a dog. The next day, a puppy came home. He's a 1-year-old and mostly not house-trained, or trained at all. He's a very sweet dog and all of the roommates like him, but we're all having some frustrations. The first issue is that we were never asked about the dog, just informed the day before that she would be getting one. Now, being her best friend, I had known for about a week or so how her mental health was. She refused to tell her parents or seek free therapy at our school, along with many other, less permanent options. So I told her parents because I didn't know what else to do. I am not at all trying to discount her mental health. I am just frustrated that she skipped so many steps in the path towards improving it. Next is the issue that she is gone most of the day. She works a lot of hours, is a full-time student, and an athlete. She often leaves the house at 6 for work. When she's gone and the pup is in his kennel, he will bark and cry for literally hours until she comes home. Because of the crying, I let him out sometimes, but have to be constantly on alert because he's not house-trained. I don't mind interacting with him at all. He's a sweetheart. It's just frustrating that I can never be productive at home because he's either crying or I have to babysit him. The most recent problem is mildly infuriating. This dog came from the shelter with anxiety medicine. He clearly is anxious when he's in his crate or when out and my roommate isn't home. He paces, can't settle down, and whines for hours if he's out while she is gone. The other day, I texted her to ask if I could give him some medicine because 3 of us were home trying to study for midterms and he was having a fit in his kettle. She said sure, so I gave it to him with some peanut butter. Later that evening, she let me know that she threw the rest of the medicine away because he was so boring and had no personality when on them. Since getting the dog almost a month ago, I've noticed that not only has her mood not seemed to improve, it's gotten worse. She seems to be mad at us all the time and just hides in her room even more than before. Am I the a-hole, or is this whole situation frustrating? I feel like I'm being walked all over because of her behavior. One of my roommates is considering subleasing. I'm worried that I'm not being a good friend when my best friend is struggling. Am I the a-hole? No, I think she needs to step up to the plate and actually look after this dog properly. She's not doing her due diligence with this dog, and it's pretty much abuse to be abandoning him in the way that she is. Throwing out the medicine is just the icing on the cake in this situation. I don't feel like that's the right thing to do. That is a very dick-headed thing to do. When the dog definitely needs the medication, what kind of excuse is that? I wouldn't know how to navigate this situation. If it was me, I would just leave, but the morally right thing to do in this situation is to get a better and more supportive family for the dog, because it doesn't sound like she wants to change. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. I don't even know what behavior is in question for potentially making you an a-hole. Your roommate doesn't seem like a good dog owner though. That pup is spending too much time locked up, and he definitely needs his medicine. She clearly isn't ready to take care of a dog or make good decisions for the poor little guy. It also wasn't fair of her to spring a dog on you and your other roommates with pretty much no input from you guys. But I'm more concerned for the puppy who can't help himself. Not the a-hole. Getting a dog isn't a cure-all for anything. It's a huge commitment that I don't think your friend and roommate has actually considered. She needs a frank, direct talking to about this. A shared house with the occupants out and about for most of the day isn't a good environment for a puppy, or a pet of any age really. It's really unfair on the little guy. Puppies need a lot of attention and love, not only to make sure they're house-trained, but to make sure they grow up as friendly, sociable animals. I'd recommend she gives the dog up for adoption, either to a family member or a friend or a shelter. A young puppy will be adopted really quickly. I wouldn't feel too bad about giving him up. If she's in a bad way with her mental health, she needs to seek proper help. There are resources available through her doctor and family health plan she can make use of. Thank you for your input. I agree that she needs to seek proper help. I've talked to her a little, and she's very reluctant, but I think she might come around. I agree that the dog wasn't the best decision, but thinking about giving him back to the shelter is also difficult, because he had been in the shelter for 3 months, and that shelter got him from another that had him for about 6 months. This poor dog grew up in a shelter, and I think that's a big contribution to his anxiety. Thinking about it from the dog's point of view, growing up with an absent most of the day, unwell owner isn't going to give him any favors. Your roommate will end up with a badly trained, unsociable dog that will be hard to retrain and generally be difficult to live with. That's not an easy situation to deal with, and if she's already struggling with issues, it won't help her situation at all. Maybe giving him up to a shelter will be tough, but giving him up at this point would be best, in my opinion. Better for your roommate, better for the dog, and better for everyone else living with them. Back to your roommate, getting her help is important, but you can't take responsibility for her. At the end of the day, you can only support her. You can't, and definitely should not, take on her problems. That will not be good for you. Look after yourself. Update. Hey everyone, I wanted to say thank you all for your advice on what to do. My other roommates and I sat down and had a discussion with her, and she agreed that she was not taking care of the dog properly. Shortly after this, our university sent us home due to the pandemic. When we came back, things had really changed and the pup is so happy. She took the quarantine as an opportunity to train him and to bond, and all of the issues we had before are gone. He has turned into the happiest dog, and all of my roommates love him. Her mental health has seemed to improve as well. We are all thankful that we didn't have to call animal services, and that we have such a sweet dog in our house. Alright, I think that's where I'm going to end today's video, guys. I do hope you enjoyed it. As always, I want to do a huge shout out to all my channel members and Patreon subscribers. You should be up on the screen now. I love you all, and I think every single one of you are amazing for supporting the channel in the way that you do. Again, thank you so much for supporting me. And again, if you did enjoy today's video, please do tell me what you thought of it down in the comments below. All of your hot takes, opinions, whatever you think, really, whatever's going on in your life right now, I'd love to hear down in the comments below. Before I leave, I'd also like to announce that I'm going to start doing meme content again on the second channel. I know it's been a while, so click on the Markee head on the screen without the Australian flag behind him if you want to go see some memes. And as always, guys, have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.